but whenever we were talking about virtual school, it's really not affecting me.
Slowed down for some reason.
All right, here we go. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of My CP Does Not Define Me, where we focus less on the dis and more on the ability of what we can do. Join us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, live on www.letgoradio.net and on Facebook Live, where I always say, if you can't be good, be bad, but be good at it. What's up, everybody? It's D to the J with a roll away, and it's that time again. It's 2 o'clock on Wednesday, and it's time for episode 31 and some fun of My CP Does Not Define Me. Guys, I've been talking about this one for a month and a half, and I got to tell you, I am more excited, well, than blue suede shoes, I guess I would say, if I would slide across the floor with them, but we don't know how that's going to go, so we'll just walk back and forth and see where we are. I'm here today with some very special guests. I want to introduce these guys. They're good friends of mine. I've been talking to them for a couple of months off and on. I'd like to welcome everybody as they come in. Hey, JP, thank you for tuning in. I want to introduce Fisher and Ronnie. How are you guys today?
Yeah, you don't have to do all that.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? All right, apparently we're having some audio issues here. Can you hear me? I can't hear you guys at all. All right, give us a second. There we go.
What happened?
Yep, I got you now.
You got me now? Can you hear us?
Yep. Yeah, we can. There we go.
Okay, you got us now.
You guys today? Yep. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. How about you, DJ?
I'm hanging in there.
Fish?
I'm doing good.
Yep, got a little bit of a lag in the video, but we're all right. So if you would, Fisher, just go ahead, Fisher and Ronnie, go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us about, who you are and where you're from and kind of what you're all about. Talk to us a little bit about what's going on with Fisher and Ronnie.
I am the father here. My name is Ronnie, and this is my son, Fisher. Fisher's 12 years old, and I am a C3 incomplete quadriplegic. And Fisher and me live together. I'm a single father. I was born and raised in Georgia, and Fisher's been born and raised right here in Western Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. I was born in Murray.
Okay. All right. Now, when you say C3, so you were paralyzed from the neck down. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I C3, which obviously my number 3 vertebrae in the cervical area. Very high injury. I was paralyzed from the neck down. My accident was July 1st, 2010, and I stayed in Vandy at Nashville, Tennessee for about 33 days, and then I moved on down to the Shepherd Center in Atlanta, Georgia, where I've done rehabilitation for nearly a year.
Okay. All right. Now, I want to when your accident happened, and we talked a little bit about this before, but you've actually never shared your story on live, have you?
Never have. Nope. Never have.
Okay. And we talked about that. I was kind of shocked because the story to me was so impactful. I had asked you about being on the show. What made you decide to share your story?
Well, DJ, I guess I think maybe when we talked earlier, I would have before. I just never felt like I'd been on the right avenue yet. And then when you joined me and Fisher on our show, we started talking about it, and I just felt like that this was the avenue that we needed. This is where we could do it. Irregardless if, obviously, our two disabilities are different, but yet we still share the same world, regardless.
And there are a lot of similarities there too. I mean, about, disability in general there, and if you look at it kind of down the line, we all need help somewhere, sometime.
That's exactly right. That can never be understated enough. We all need help from time to time.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, I want to welcome everybody in as they come in. Hey, Shayna, how are you? Thank you for joining us today. Hey, JP, glad to have you. Thank you for being with us. Be sure to leave us a comment. I can see you guys. We're live on www.letgo radio and Facebook Live. Now, Ronnie, you guys do a podcast on YouTube to learn about other disabilities, correct?
Yes. Our YouTube channel, we do 2 or 3 things. We vlog our lives. And so we have the vlogs, we have our educational videos. Basically, I guess, we always put quadriplegic down, but it would apply to anybody that's in a wheelchair, I would imagine. And then, yes, we also do a podcast where we'll venture into every disability and, every treatment, whatever, anything disability is what we say. Yes, sir.
Okay. And how did this start? When did you and Fisher decide to start doing this?
About 6-7 months ago.
Okay.
I always wanted to start a YouTube channel, and he said, "Why not? Let's give it a go." Okay.
And what made you focus on disability in general?
Yeah, there's lots of avenues out there that helps with that. But you can never talk about it enough because as we've talked before, like spinal cord injury, I feel like I'm kind of lucky in the fact that for some reason, it gets a lot of coverage versus other types of disabilities for some reason that don't. And that is one thing that I am figuring out, that having an SCI is nothing's ever good as far as anything like that. But, other disabilities definitely get overlooked. And for some reason, spinal cord injury doesn't, but others do. And so just to bring awareness, to the world about, people with disabilities, regardless of the situation, they're people too. And, they're in need of different things. And they also should demand the same respect as everyone else.
Well, Nikki just commented. She said, "Hey, Fisher and Ronnie, I love you guys' channel." Michael and Nikki and Shayna say hey to everybody. So thank y'all for tuning in. JP says hey to everybody. Again, we really appreciate all of our folks joining in with us today. All right, so we're going to get down to it now. Like I said, this one, y'all might want to grab your tissues because we're going to get into some deep stuff here. And I really commend these two guys because, like I said, I've been talking with them for a couple of months, and I had the pleasure of going on Fisher and Ronnie's show to talk about cerebral palsy, and the open arms that I received was, I felt so great, but. We're going to leave no stone unturned here, and we're going to go ahead and get into this. I'm really excited. So, again, thank you guys so much for being on the show today, and I'm glad to have you.
Well, we appreciate everybody that tunes in, right, Fisher?
Yep, we appreciate everybody.
All right, so let's go from step one here. Now, what do you remember the night that it happened? You said it was July 1st, you said?
July 1st, and it was around noon. I was coming back to work after I was going back to the office after lunch. I just ate lunch. Yes, sir.
So let's just fill everybody in here. You were completely able-bodied, no problems, and everything, had the wife and, the house and the whole 9 yards. So this was just another day for you, basically.
Just another day. I'd got up just like every other day. I had dropped Fisher off at my mom's, who watched him during the day. Went to work. My ex-wife had, earlier that after, before lunch, had picked Fisher up. They were going to the swimming pool. Just another day, I was going back to work and living life. Had the best job in the world, had a great family, and, just God said, just things happen.
All right. So tell us what happened next. You're driving down and what happened?
I black out. I either black out or pass out, fall asleep. Don't know. Never, we'll never know. And was only going about 15 mile an hour on a back road about a half a mile from the office. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, when that happened, I was in the one area that had about a 30-foot ravine straight down. And when I fell asleep, I crossed the lane and I hit a stump, a cut off stump, head on with my Suburban. And when I did, it kicked the Suburban up and I went down the ravine backwards. And when I did, I slipped out of my seatbelt. And from, whether whiplash or whether I hit something with my head on the way back to the back of the Suburban, I suffered the C3, spinal cord injury. And, one of the unique stories about that, DJ, is, 10 years ago, today, if you buy a vehicle, it has OnStar or whatever, that's what Chevrolet uses. I'm sure the GPS is always on. 10 years ago, that's not the case. I had just got that Suburban. It was new. And anyway, the first thing, that I remember waking up to was the OnStar, the lady over the speakers asking me if I was involved in a wreck. And, she asked me, Mr. Brenniger, are you involved in a wreck? And I was like, yes, ma'am. And she says, well, you didn't set your OnStar up. So where are you at? Do you remember? And so I told her, and anyway, a couple minutes went by and she said, well, you're not there because we've went up and down the road. And I told her, I was like, I hear the emergency vehicles, but nobody's coming to me. Well, I was down in a ravine and I did not know it.
Oh my gosh.
So without OnStar, I was doomed. Without, OnStar, OnStar saved my life right then, and me being able to be alert enough to remember where I was. And so, and then, finally they found me. One of the medics saw a broke twig. He found me. They worked jaws of life for about 2 hours to get me out. And then when they pulled me out of the ravine with the winch from the fire truck is when shock set in and I passed out. And then I woke up at the hospital.
All right. So let's stop here for a minute. So you got a brand new Suburban. You're driving down the road and you said you either passed out or fell asleep, but you never found out which it was. So everything was fine. And then all of a sudden it happened.
Faster than you can just popped your fingers. My life went from 100% normal to upside down. Yes, sir.
Good Lord Almighty. Now,
DJ, let me say this: not just my life, but this young man's life behind me too.
Well, and how old was Fisher at the time?
That my accident was 2001, and you were born what year, Fish?
2008.
2008, and so I'm sorry, July 1st, 2010, and he was born in 2008. So he was a little over 2 years old.
Oh my gosh! So a 2-year-old son, nobody has any idea what's going on. Luckily, you had OnStar in your vehicle. They found you. You wake up. They're talking to you. You realize you're in an accident. They're going up down the road. They can't find you. You don't even know you're in the ravine. So you got God intervening right there. They find you in the ravine, and at this time they work 2 hours with jaws of life to get the door open, rip the door off, pull the car out of the ravine with a winch, and shock sets in.
Well, they didn't initially pull the Suburban out of while I was there. They put me on like a gurney, and they pulled me out of the ravine with the fire truck winch. To be honest with you, DJ, I really don't know how they got the Suburban out. I just know that's how they got me out of the ravine.
Wow. And we got a couple of comments here I want to read. Miss Wilson says, right, Fisher's life was changed as well. Miss Wilson also says, when something happens to a family member, it affects the whole family. Shayna says, I know the feeling of the world being turned upside down. Nothing but God's grace and mercy. Man,
that is, when people ask me, how do you see God? I tell them, how don't you see God? That's what I say. It's everywhere, every direction I look, that's who I see. And, I wouldn't be here today, and Fisher wouldn't have a father, and I wouldn't have been able to live, the last, 10 years being a father, regardless if it's in a wheelchair or what.
So you wake up and you're in the hospital, and what happened next?
Well, I did wake up a couple times in Nashville, but I don't remember it. When I really remember it is I woke up in Atlanta at the Shepherd Center, and I was on and off the ventilator because anybody that has any knowledge about a cervical spinal cord injury, pneumonia is one of the key factors that makes people not live and get you on the ventilator. And scared. That's what I tell people. I was just scared. That was, I couldn't move anything, and just wasn't able to see Fisher, and I was just really scared is what it was.
So you're in the hospital, you don't know what's going on, you can't move anything, and your first reaction is, oh my Lord, what in the heck is going on?
Yes, and to be honest with you, is every day, 2 or 3 times a day, they would come get me to take me to the therapy room, and they would work my arms, my legs, and I remember laughing and telling them, I was like, what? I can't move anything, I don't know what you're doing, but they did know what they were doing, thank goodness, because I'm the first to tell people, is positive as I am today, and you'll find it hard to find anybody more positive about this than me today. I was just as negative then, and so I don't take all the credit in the world. I promise you that I was very negative at this point.
So how long was it before you got to see your son and tell your family what was going on?
I believe it was close to 6 months before I saw Fisher.
Oh my God. How do you, I don't mean to laugh at that. I'm taken away by, how do you not see your son for 6 months?
Well, it was more that they didn't want Fisher to see me. Because of I had chest tubes, I had the trach, in my neck. Mm-hmm. I had feeding tubes, and so it was more they didn't want to see Fisher. They didn't want Fisher to see his dad in this condition.
Right, because they were afraid of the shock and everything that would take place. Wow. So you're going through therapy, and they're moving your arms, and what's the name of the facility that you were at again?
It is called the Shepherd Center in Atlanta, Georgia.
And you were there for a year?
Close to it, yes. I was there around like 10 months the first time, and then I come home for about 2 or 3 weeks, and I went back for another month and a half. Yes.
Now, Fisher, I'm not sure if you remember your first reaction of seeing your dad. Do you remember when you were that small what it was like for you?
No, but we do have some pictures of whenever I first saw him. We do have one picture of me feeding him Cheetos.
Now, see, you talking about right there. Now Fisher is 2, and I say this because this is so touching to go through it and to see a 2-year-old to fight through this and to go from everything being upright to everything being upside down. I don't know if a family can prepare for that. What would you say his reaction was when he first saw you, Ronnie?
To be honest with you, DJ, I was on so many drugs and at the time, and believe it or not, even though when I say 6 months, that seems like a long time, to this, I don't remember that initial visit, but I remember a few visits afterwards, and a child's heart at that point, he didn't realize it. I was still dad, and he didn't see the difference in dad yet.
That is so amazing. I want to read this to you. It's truly understandable how you could have been so negative because your life changed and something to get used to. But thank you. You have a whole different side of things now, and it's able to accept you now. Miss Wilson also said this. He said it with a smile. I love that because he remembered something so important as feeding his father Cheetos.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm just like, I'm touched by this because you go through life every day and you wonder the impact on a child. But the innocence of the eyes of a child, he sees his dad. He doesn't see difference. Mm-hmm. How powerful was that for you?
You know, DJ, as we get further into this story, the powerfulness of that becomes more apparent the further we get into this story.
Oh, yeah.
And for me, you know, it is for more than just because, again, until after I got after, you know, I don't know if it was a year and a half before I really started becoming coherent enough to really know what was going on. And, you know, I remember Fisher and I remember a lot of that. And as we get deeper, you know, that is when what I realized that Fisher was up against, I should say, with Dad being in this condition, the longer we went.
All right, so let's move forward a little bit. You went through, you know, you go through the year. Fisher gets to see you a couple times. You're going through therapy. You get to go home, and you're with, you know, I guess you're with your wife at the time,
yes,
and all that's going through. So what happens now? You get home, and just continue with the story there.
Okay, we get home and around, you know, like I said, I was there about a year. You know, things are going. You know, I'm getting some arm movement back. Very, you know, I could twitch a muscle in my leg, but not do anything with it. I was still having to be fed, learning how to feed myself still. I had an apparatus come over my shoulder on my wheelchair at the time that would help me. And so at this time, I needed 24-hour care.
Okay.
And anyway, as we went through that, you know, I'll go on just a little bit further. You know, for one reason or another, you know, we end up getting a divorce, and it turns into being me and Fisher.
And how old is Fisher at this time?
Well, you know, Fisher is now going to be about, I'm guessing 3.5 by now, maybe 4. Okay.
I had to take my glasses off because I know the waterworks are coming. So, so he's 3.5 now. So it's father and son. You're by yourself. Your wife is gone, and you had. And I don't know if you want to. You know, you can share whatever you want. What was it? How did you feel at this point? What was on your mind?
Well, what was on my mind is I knew I had to get better if I could, but you know, with a spinal cord injury, you don't know. There was some improvements, but you know, Fisher at this point has now got to the point where he, you know, at nighttime, every 2 hours, we would set my cell phone, and he would readjust the wedges underneath my body so I wouldn't get pressure sores. He would flip me from side to side. And during the daytime, you know, I would sit in my wheelchair and I would, you know, coach him into how to cook, whether it be ramen noodles or whether it be an egg or whatever. And he would cook the eggs, and then, you know, he would, you know, carry it to the bench, and, you know, he would take a bite and then give me a bite.
So let me just reiterate what you just said. Your son is 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
Your son is removing the wedges from your legs and your body.
Mm-hmm.
Helping you turn so that you don't get pressure sores.
Mm-hmm.
He's helping you with your food. He's cooking food. You're coaching him how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
He's taking a bite of food and feeding you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening to this. At 3.5 years old, this child is doing this.
And I have many people ask me, well, why didn't you get help? Well, that is the $1 million question. Is, you go through a divorce. I am teetering, with a divorce, and the way, if the state gets involved, am I able enough to even have my son on a one-on-one basis?
Oh my God.
And I'm still going to work. Somebody comes and gets me in my van and takes me to work, and I'm doing this because I can't lose my insurance. And every state's different, and when you do this kind of stuff, it just turns into that I can't have help, that the state, and I couldn't afford it even, and then the state wouldn't do it because I was at work. And so there's many different factors. And yes, so Fisher becomes, my lifeline, I should say.
Wow. And I'm listening to you, and I'm just trying to put my head around. It's so powerful to me. Someone asked, how old is Fisher now? How old are you now, Fisher?
I'm 12, going on 13 in February.
Okay. So Nikki asked how old you were. Edwina said, a father's glory. My God, let me tell you, I can relate. Thank God for Fisher. Shayna said, Janelle said, amazing. Michael said, you have a great son. Great job. Did it impact you at this point that your son was doing all this?
Yes. Fisher also, once a month. This can be a kind of a funny story. Once a month, he would change my catheter. I was on a Foley catheter then, which was a full-time catheter. And as we talked about the last time we talked, DJ, the funny part about this is I can tell the world that you don't have to be near as much. What's the word?
Coordinated.
No, you don't have to be as what's it called? Where you don't get germs.
Bacterial safe or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to be completely sterile. That's the word.
Yeah, sterile.
Because Fisher at 4 years old, he would grab the tube, and together we would, that make it happen. And he would grab the tube and he would stick it in. What do you tell a 4-year-old? Don't touch don't touch the tube there. Don't touch it there. No, you just let him do his thing. And, we got through that. And, I guess one of the biggest things is he also helped, I am getting better, and I am getting arm movement by now, and I could assist on this stuff. Mm-hmm. But he would also, if he helped me do that, he helped me do the other. And so, I got to where I didn't eat very much. And so I lost a tremendous amount of weight. Mm-hmm. So I would not have many bowel movements. That's just to be the truth about it. But
everybody got a poop. Look,
everybody's gotta go. But I tell people to this point God gives some people children, and God gave me a guardian angel, and it's that simple. It is that simple.
Lord have mercy. I mean, if y'all can't see that, look at. This moment here for a child that is 3-year-old, 3.5, 4 now, to cath his own father and help with everything else and never question it. I think you told me one time he never said, "Why do I have to do this, Dad?" Never questioned that.
No, it is the most amazing thing about it is, as age comes, Fisher has asked me that, say, in the last year. Okay. Mm-hmm. But at that age, no, and still yet, even though he's asked me, how did we get in this position? That doesn't mean, he goes above and beyond. Still to this day, it is, I have regained all my arm movement, and I have regained leg movement. I'm still in a wheelchair, and, and I'm still motorly functionally slower than what I was. I can live by myself if I had to. Fisher just makes things so much faster. He still cooks a lot, that kind of stuff, and cleans and does laundry, blah, blah. So we both do. But, Fisher, no, he never asked why at that point. It was, unfortunately, and I do mean this, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Fisher grew up thinking that's just what a son does. There's no doubt about it. And if we've argued about anything about this, it's the argument as when he's 18, whether it be college, whether it be the military, whether it be whatever, he's going. He's got a life to live. And whatever that means for me, we'll make that work. But that is if there is one argument between me and Fisher, it is once he turns 18, I want him to live his life. He has served his God. He has served his commandments to the fullest with what he has done for his dad.
Fisher, how do you feel about it? I mean, is it the I don't want to leave my dad when I turn 18 type thing?
Yeah, because I don't want nobody treating him bad and him not getting the care he needs.
Wow. I'm not often speechless. I don't like. Did you like so you being 12 now and going into all this? What was your dad, and even now? I think you told me, and just kind of reiterate, you just wanted your dad to get better was the only thing. This whole time I just want my dad to get better.
Yeah, because one day, because I always have this dream that he'll be able to walk and we can live more normal lives.
And it's, I mean, the innocence in this, it is so amazing to hear. I mean, not only to be paralyzed from the neck down, to go through a divorce, that's a life change in itself. But that on top of all of this, how do you stay in that mind frame? Like, goodness gracious, that is huge. Like, you are wise beyond your years. I know it's 12, but I'm like, man, I don't know 30-year-old sons that would do what you do. And it's but it's the love of your dad is why you're doing it. That is amazing to me. Woo.
He is definitely the driving force behind my positivity of how I got to the point that I'm at, because you are right. Is after the accident, after the divorce, if there was a raging Cajun mad at the world, you're looking at him and one of the easiest things in this world is for somebody to tell other people that they have forgave and that, they trust in the Lord. And that's easy to do. But, Fisher showed me the way, the light, and I've always tried to raise him with the foundation of the Lord. And I tell people all the time is, regardless of who it is, I have forgave, and Fisher is the driving force that showed me how to do that. And, God puts through the eyes of children, and, to have the heart of a child. And, he led me, in the right direction through Fisher. That is for sure.
And we haven't even scratched the surface of the divorce yet. Like, I mean, just how do you, let me ask you this, Ronnie, as a father, did you ever ask yourself, like, why? Because, and I'm being honest, and I'm not, I try to stay positive as much as I can, but you're paralyzed from the neck down. You get a divorce. Your son is your permanent caregiver now. Did you go, what in the world am I supposed to do?
If you're asking, did I get mad, and then was I the maddest person at God on this earth? Yes, I was. And did I question him? Yes. And if anybody, this is just an opinion, I guess, but if you go through what you just mentioned, and if somebody looks at you and says it didn't shake my faith, in a little bit of a way, I would say you may not have had the faith to start with, then, because it will shake you. But again, if you have that foundation and being led from, like I said, Fisher was such a leading point of that. I would look at him, and if he could give that kind of effort, surely I could meet him halfway. And it's and one thing about the divorce, let me just say this to the entire disability world, how I feel about that. I had been married for, I'm guessing, 12, 13 years. I forget now, before I had the accident.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have an accident like it is just as hard on your spouse as it is you.
Yeah.
And both parties, you're reaching for a new normal. You're reaching for the normal. You're reaching for normal. And the injured person, myself, I've got to live with that new normal. I can't reach for my old normal. And so it affects them. It hurts them. And so when people ask me, do I have hard feelings? I tell them I might have initially, but now looking at it, I understand that, how you react to something like that is going to be different with every person. Mm-hmm. We all fall short sometimes. We all are above sometimes. We all, strive for greater things sometimes. And, through the Lord Jesus Christ, I'm able to say that I have forgave her for anything. She's same way with me. We have a great relationship today, and we owe that all to the Lord, because us as humans, we're not capable of that. We're just not. And so that's where I stand with that.
Let me just read a couple of these comments that are coming through. Shayna said this: yes, you're a reason to keep living, to keep on fighting, to get strong. Was Fisher. Edwina said it's okay, not okay. Charles said this: wow, as a father with a disability, that worries me about my son. And quote, Fisher's driving force. That's from Miss Winnie. You have to forgive for yes, that's awesome. And that's understandable to be mad. Yes, meet him halfway. Everything is not for everyone, unfortunately. That's all you can do is forgive God to help. That's and there's a realization here, and this story touches me so much because of the issues that I had with my father, and coming to grips with forgiveness sometimes is a really hard thing, because when you look at it and when you're going through life and things are hitting you left and right, and you get this fault into it hurts, and you have to go through that to get through that. I gotta unfortunately put my glasses back because I can't see the comments because my eyes are so watered up. I commend both of them strength in Christ. I mean, in serving Him and really seeking Him in all this. Because I asked you a question the last time we talked, Ronnie. I said, how do you not go crazy through all this? And you pointed to that sign on that wall.
Yes, sir. That sign is a motto that we live by in this household. It is great as my recovery it is. Mm-hmm. It is all Jesus Christ. As great of a young man as Fisher is, it's the Lord that lives within his heart that makes him that way. And we give him all the praise, because we realize that without him, Fisher is not the young man that he is. And I'm not the Groucho that I am, right, Fish?
Yes.
No, that's just a fact. But honestly, that is, irregardless, that is really it. It is. Yes.
So you're now forward. You had went through all this, and Fisher was helping you with cooking and eating and bathroom and moving and rolling over and going through, all the loss that you had. So where are you now? Are you still working? What's going on?
Well, I actually I retired a couple years ago. Went back to school and got my biblical studies degree. Working on my master's of theology now. And as far as Fisher goes, Fisher, I've talked a lot. What's in your life? What have you done in the?
So football season just ended for me, and we're lifting weights in the off season right now, and I'm in school and I have good grades, I guess.
Yeah, and we honestly, through everything that we've said, we live a very normal life today. As I said, I recovered. The couple nights that Fisher goes to his mom's every week.
Mm-hmm.
I live. I may be slow about it, but I'm not complaining, and we live a fairly normal life today, other than, I'm slower, and, Fisher helps me still a lot to this day, because if we're going to get up, just like yesterday, we shot a video for our YouTube channel,
mm-hmm.
and we got up, and if we wait for Ronnie to get ready, we got to get up 2 hours earlier.
Right.
To where Fisher still helps me. We can get up, and I can be up and going in 10 minutes.
Right.
So
yeah, that's my mom. Yeah, when I was trying to get dressed and stuff, it's easier to have that help. Continue. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, but that's it. It is. We are a. Whatever people do when they leave this show today, yes, a tremendous bond between me and Fisher, a tremendous love. But I will tell people that Fisher is now, he is 12 going on 13, and we have the father and son arguments just like anybody else. We are a normal father and son. Yes, there are things that most fathers may not witness, but we live a very normal father-son relationship where I have to ground, I have to be this, or he has to be mad at me, and we are normal, and and I tell people about that, about disability. We are normal, and it don't matter what you have. We just may, things may just be, we live a normal life. We're normal just like anybody else. It's just that, God gave us special things to have to deal with.
But there's something I realize, and I'm going to ask you in live on the air, and I've been waiting for this one because I wanted to do it at the right opportunity, and the opportunity just hit. I realized that young man standing behind you, there's nothing that he will do for his father. Nothing.
No, he would.
And that is such an amazing attribute of a young man that's living his life, but he loves you beyond repraise. I mean, it's the undying love that your son has for you is the same love of the Christ-like love that Christ had for his father.
Yes,
I'm saying that because it is powerful to hear your son who, going on 13, and he says, I don't leave my dad at 18. I want to make sure that my dad gets that he needs. And this is great. It is so powerful, but I want a question, and I'm going to read a comment here in just a minute. If your son said to you, Dad, I'm living my life. I don't want to leave. I want to continue to help you. And I want to make sure that you get the help that you need. If your son truly told you in his heart that he didn't want to leave and he wanted to help his dad, could you accept that?
Well, what I could accept is this. Fisher has a pretty big love for football.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately he does want to play college football. Ultimately, I would say that I would be able, if it was a joint effort where he said, I won't do this if you don't do this, I would say that I would move to wherever he was. but I would still make him live independently, and just instead of living with me on a daily basis, it would be more along the lines of a, every other day, whatever, I could accept that. But to say that he was just going to stay here, I would have a hard time accepting that, because, I've lived a life and I've had the enjoyment and the love of a son and a family, and I would never want to take that away from him. And it's real quick, just to give everybody an idea of this many years later. When I told you about Thanksgiving, I think we've done this before, I don't remember, but Thanksgiving, we're going to some friend's house tomorrow, and our real close friends, love them to death. This family does more for us than you could ever imagine. They are a great family. But anyway, when I told Fisher we were going there for lunch, and he's like, we're not cooking Thanksgiving. And I was like, well, I figured this would give us a break. And just big tears got in his eyes, and they started rolling down his cheeks. And he's like, but I want to have Thanksgiving together like we always do.
Wow.
And so I said, okay. I said, we'll still buy ham, and we'll put our ham in when we go to their house, and we'll cook. And by the time we get back, and we'll finish, I said, we'll have Thanksgiving that night for supper. Fisher, he is I can't put in words. I mean, it's
tradition.
Yeah. I mean, I like, he is such a better human being than I am, that I can't even, I'm not even in the universe as what he is. I can't thank with the love that he thanks with.
Let me say this. I want you to retract that statement, because I don't think it's necessarily better, or even that, because what it is it's a purity. There's a purity here in this relationship. And I want to read this comment real quick. Charles said this. I'm going to say something. Your son will be better than he would have been without your injury, sir. I often question my son's life without me having a disability. I think he wouldn't be him without me. And that's true, because if you look at what this has done, this has strengthened the two of you to an unbreakable, and I honestly believe that nothing could break the bond that you two have. And it really is the tradition of, I want to have Thanksgiving like we all, because he holds in his heart what he has. And that's that purity that I'm talking about. Fisher, if you right now had to describe your dad, if you had to describe the love that you feel for your dad, all the things that you do, what would you say your dad is to you?
I think he's caring for me, like I am him. I think that we care for each other very much in a father-son relationship that no one can break.
Yeah. So you would agree that it's an unbreakable relationship between the two of you?
Yeah, it's like a stone wall.
That's a great analogy. A stone wall.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and see, the thing about Fisher helping you to recover, the thing about the love that you share with each other, the thing about the wonderful, inspiring story that you're telling, this is going to inspire so many people. I mean, for you to tell your story on a live platform like this, I'm about to walk right now. Do you know? I realize how happy I am that you came on this show, because I knew I was dead silent when you told your story, and you really told it. There are some little parts that you left out, but man, I just Miss Winnie said this. Edwina Wilson said this. The beauty of listening to this phenomenal journey is that though he had been there for you as a toddler, he is still able to do what he wants to do. Example, football, etc. Such a blessing, and you, Dad, through you were made. You were mad at God, which is understandable. But God whispered to you more than enough time so that you could see what was right in front of you, which is a blessing, your son. And look at you now in in theology school. But God, nobody but God could give you such a path as such.
You know, he granted me. This is how I look at it. You know, before I had my accident, I probably traveled 150 to 180 days a year, and so if I don't have my accident, you know, I miss a lot with Fisher. And by having my accident, you know, I've been able now. You know, I coached.
Sixth grade.
You know, fifth and sixth grade football here, and you know, I was able to coach Fisher for 2 years, and he's moved on up to seventh and eighth grade now. But you know, just more than that, fishing. You know, just everything that we've done. You know, vacations and stuff that I may have missed. And so, the worst things that could have possibly happened to me, at the end of the day, I now look at it. I tell people all the time, is I'm living my best life in 2020 right now. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, and I wouldn't want anybody else around me but this young man behind me. Wow. Period. End of story. It is, you know, it is, like I said, it is not always perfect, but it is perfect to us. And so
let me ask this. We've got a few minutes left in the show. Boy, if I had another hour on this show, I'd keep going. I'm definitely going to help you have you guys back.
Yes,
so what's next for Fisher and Ronnie right now?
Well, you know, we're always continuing to work on our YouTube channel, and you know, a lot of people look at that as a revenue, you know, as a job, and it is a job. But you know, we get stuff back from comments. I had a comment just last week from a dad that is in my position now that I was 10 years ago, and was like, wow, I'm in tears because I thought my life as being a dad was over. And I was like, no, brother, it's just beginning. And, you know, so watching these videos, you know, and other people that are just now having injuries, you know, and disabilities, they're understanding that, you know, just because this happens doesn't mean life is over. And, you know, that is what we get out of it. And, you know, our YouTube channel, that's kind of what's next, I guess. I really don't know. I mean, every day changes with us. It's kind of like what you said. You know, this social media is going this, and you know, and then you get this call, that call. So I really don't know. Other than I can tell you that we'll continue the YouTube channel and the podcast, and other than that, I know that we'll just keep going. You know, that's just you can, and you know, real quick, you can find us on anything, whether it be Instagram or whether it's Facebook. You can find us at Fisher and Ronnie. Everything's under Fisher and Ronnie, and the same as our YouTube channel, Fisher and Ronnie. So everything that's simple.
You timed that perfectly, because I was getting ready to ask you, and if I go a few minutes over here, I don't think Miss Wilson will mind, but I want to ask you something. Have the two of you ever considered putting this story in a book and writing it down?
You know, that has crossed my mind a little bit. But the deeper I get into this, it may be something that we do in the future. I'm not real keen on, you know, on as far as what steps to take to that. Mm-hmm. So if anybody out there watches this and they haven't, you know, the steps or ideas of how that happens, you know, let us know. That'd be something that we would think about. Yes.
And also,
Go ahead.
And also, neither one of us have good handwriting, so I don't know how we're going to write a book if nobody can read it.
Yeah, luckily that's what their computer types out there and dragging dictation naturally speaking, so you don't have to worry about that. But I want to say this while I'm live on the air. I really, Miss Wilson, I've read some of the comments that she left, and she said, when DJ first called me about you and your son, I knew this day would come. I had to drop whatever I was doing and be attentive. I would love for you guys to get in contact with Kelly's Choice Inc., because it's just something that we'll do a 3-way call. She just said so. I'm so honored to have you guys. I love you both. You guys are so amazing. Would you each just leave a word of inspiration to our listeners before we leave?
You want to go first, Fisher, or want me to?
No, I'll think of mine.
Okay, I'll go first. Well, first off, DJ, I want to thank you because you do a great job, and you're an inspiration to everybody too. So don't ever lose the sight of that, okay? Because I may not always catch you live, but I definitely catch you afterwards. And I want to thank everybody that took their time out. Me and Fisher are always deeply humbled when people take their time out to listen to us or listen to our story or our videos. And my inspiration is put your faith in the Lord and let him lead you. And sometimes that path may seem very rocky. And I've been down that rocky shore myself. But I promise you, when it's over with, the clouds of joy and the clouds of this life that he's got in store for you, it is, and it only gets better. It only gets better. And so, trust in the Lord. That is my motto that I live by. And by any means am I perfect? No, but I promise you that at the end of the day, I still put my head down and I pray, because I know without him, none of this is possible. So always put your faith in the Lord. Don't give up, and trust in his way. That's mine.
And mine is, whenever life gives you lemons, you need to make lemonade from them. And whether that's, if you suffer an accident like he did, if you're born with something, nothing's ever over. Like he could easily gave up, and he could when he was fighting on that respirator or life support, he could easily just stop fighting. But no, what he did, he didn't. He gave it all he had to survive, and in the end of the day, he comes out with me and him having a father-son relationship that is, I would say, very normal. The only difference is that just getting him out of the wheelchair and stuff. But other than that, we have a perfect father-son relationship. And yes, there's going to be arguments, but that's just with anybody you deal with. Whether it's a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, a wife, it doesn't matter. You're going to have arguments. And that's my life makes lemons give lemonade.
Huggy?
That right there. This is what makes this show run so well. Stories like this. Thank you so much for sharing your story today. Whew, man, I knew when you guys came on this was going to be powerful. I knew. I said to myself, hold on, because we're in for a ride. I am so honored to hear this story again, and I'm so happy that you guys are in my life. Thank you for being a part of this and sharing what a wonderful story. And Fisher, I'm going to tell you this. You are wise beyond your years, young man. You keep fighting and you keep playing football and you strive for your dream. And dream big. Dream big, because you can do anything you set your mind to. And your father believes in you, and so do I. And so do all these people here. You got so many comments on this daggone thing. I tell you what, these things are streaming. And it's an awesome, awesome, awesome thing to see a son that loves his father so much that he would literally do anything for him. You are wise beyond your years. You keep it up. Guys, as we end the show today, let me say this. I am proud to have these guests, and we are going to have these guests back again. I am, today is, the day before Thanksgiving. I'm going to leave you with this. Be thankful for what you have, whether it is a little or whether it is a lot. Use everything to your best advantage, and always put your best foot or your best wheel forward. You can reach me on Instagram at MyCPDoesNotDefineMe. You can reach me on Facebook at MyCPDoesNotDefineMe under DJ Carter. You can reach me on YouTube at MyCPDoesNotDefineMe, Chairmaster Games, or Worth the Wait Cooking with DJ Carter. You can also reach me on my blog at CarterDJ85/Wix.com. Guys, please, please, please follow me, follow this show, and get stories like this, because I always say, if you can't be good, be bad, but be good at it. We will see you next Wednesday at 2 o'clock Eastern Time for episode 32 of my CP does not define me.
All right, everybody. That's going to do it for this week's episode of My CP Does Not Define Me. But don't worry, you can catch us again next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on www.letgoradio.net and on Facebook and YouTube at My CP Does Not Define Me. Remember, I'm your host, D to the J with the roll away. And if you can't be good, be bad. But be good at it. We'll see you next week.